we can ask everyone to please kindly take your seats so that we can begin. We're going to have all day to kibitz, everybody, but if you can kindly take your seats. Friends, please quickly take your seats so we can begin. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We want to welcome everyone, family and friends, to our celebration of this Shabbat morning and our special celebration today as Jason becomes Bar Mitzvah. Each of us who is here today has been given an amazing and a very special gift. And that is not simply a sense of connection to the Katz family and to Jason as Bar Mitzvah, but each of us has been given a connection to the Holy One. We've each been given the gift of life itself. In the last week, each of us was given 168 individual precious hours of life. And Shabbat is a time when we stop and reflect on that gift, and to think about how we chose to use it, and toward what did we aim, and how did we apply our energies, our talents, our faculties and abilities, and to think a little bit about how we might use those next 168 hours. And this is what we've asked Jason to do, to guide us in these moments of introspection and reflection, to share with us his unique wisdom from the Torah portion of this week, so that we might have a little more wisdom as we continue to enjoy the gift of life. And so the best way we can show our love and our appreciation and support for Jason as he leads us this morning is to participate in this service as much as we can. So we ask everyone, please grab one of those blue prayer books from the brackets of the seats in front of you. And please put those books to good use. When you see Hebrew passages that you recognize, and I'm sure that many of you will, you should join Jason in the Hebrew. When you see passages on the page in the English where there is an indentation, that is where Jason is going to ask you to read along with him. He is expecting you to do this, so please don't disappoint him. And if there is a song to sing, you should sing. However, if you have a cellular telephone or a camera or a cellular telephone which is also a camera or anything that will beep, blink, twerp, or click during the service this morning, we ask that you please turn those devices off before we begin. Our service will begin on page 172 as we welcome the holiness of this day with the words of Ma Tovu.
Tovu, La Tovu, Ohalecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael, Ma Tovu, La Tovu.
Page 178. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. Adonai, our God, make the words of your Torah sweet to us and to the house of Israel, your people, that we and our children may be lovers of your name and students of your Torah. We praise you, O God, teacher of Torah to our people Israel. Baruch atah Adonai hamelamed Torah le'amo Yisrael. Page 180. We read together. These are things that are limitless, of which a person enjoys the fruit of the world, while the principle remains in the world to come. They are honoring one's father and mother, engaging in deeds of compassion, arriving early for study morning and evening, dealing graciously with guests, visiting the sick, providing for the wedding couple, accompanying the dead for burial, being devoted in prayer, and making peace among people. But the study of Torah encompasses them all. It is in that spirit that we invite our Bar Mitzvah Jason to lead our congregation in our Shabbat service, and we invite Evan and Jamie Katz to present him with his Talit.
Yamoy, Kopel Yishai ben Yitzchak Yaakov Shoshana Bar Mitzvah.
Very, very special young man. And you have weathered the storm of your youth and come out of it in a very, very special way. You've picked up all the wonderful traits from your parents and your teachers and your friends, and you have a lot of tools to take with you on the next journey. We wish you well.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu latitatef b'tzitzit. May my life be one link in a chain of goodness. As I say the prayers of my ancestors, help me to recall their devotion and faithfulness, their joy and suffering, which are in every word. Holiness is my heritage. May I be worthy of it. May our tradition live in me and pass from me to generations I shall never know, enriched by the truth that I have found and the good deeds that I have done. So may I fulfill my task on earth and receive my blessing. And when the service ends and the prayers have ceased, help me to bring their spirit into the world in which I live. May I love God above all and my neighbor as myself, and be a living witness to the truth that never changes.
Now I'd like to ask everyone to please turn to the supplement cards you received with your programs as you came in the sanctuary this morning. We ask everyone to please turn to the side where it reads Call to Responsibility. We ask everyone to please rise as together we offer our blessings for Jason. We say together, we rise to welcome you on the verge of adulthood into the congregation of Israel. You are today teacher of Torah, leader of prayer. You hold within your hands the future of Jewish life. May the promise and potential we see in you come to fruition. May you continue to grow in knowledge of Torah and of the life of our people with your ongoing study. May you have a special place in your heart for our community, for Jews and Jewish needs in our land and in all lands. And may this congregation live as Jews worthy of your respect. Let us take our ancient teachings and make them part of our lives as we strive to make our world a better place. We now look to you. take your place in our midst as we today begin the creation of tomorrow. As a congregation, we are thankful for having reached this joyous occasion, and in this spirit proclaim, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruling spirit of the universe, who has kept us, sustained us, enabled us to reach this most holy day.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
We continue with the Baruch Hu on page 195. Please remain standing. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, yotzer or uvorei hosheh, oseh shalom uvorei et hakol. Hami'ir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim, uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom, tamid ma'aseh v'reshit. Ma'aravu ma'aseh Adonai, kulam b'chochma asita, melech ha'aretz kinyanetha. Titbarach Adonai Eloheinu, al savach ma'aseh yadeha, ve'al me'orei or she'asita, yifa'aru chasela. Or hadash al Tzion ta'ir, v'nizke kulanu, mehera le'oro. Baruch atah Adonai, yotzer hameorot. We continue on page 197. God of all creation, you are blessed with each soul's breath. Your greatness and goodness fill the world. Knowledge and understanding surround your glory. Holiest are you among the holy, seated in glorious splendor, radiating purity and justice, bestowing loving kindness. In knowledge and understanding, you created the heavenly lights, giving them strength and power to bring light into the world. Full of splendor, they radiate brightness. The world is warmed by their flames. We rejoice in their comings and goings, reflecting the will of their Creator. Glory and honor they give to you, and glowing praises to your rule. You call to the sun, and it gives forth light. You set the patterns of the moon. You are honored throughout the heavens with songs of glory and praise. V'ha'ereneinu v'toratecha v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha v'yachid levabeinu le'ahava u'yira et shemeha v'lo nevosh v'lo nekalem v'no nekashel le'olam va'ed v'ha'ereneinu v'toratecha v'dabek libeinu b'mitzvotecha v'yachid levabeinu le'ahava u'yira et shemecha. O God, inspiration and guide for all, you have spoken in 1,000 tongues for us to hear, in every land and every age. Your children have heard you and imagined you in separate ways, and yet, O God, you are one, unifier of humanity. We read together. We give thanks for the sages and teachers who bring us the understanding of your will. Gratefully, we recall the lawgivers and prophets and the psalmists and sages of Israel. And joyfully remember that from the dawn of Israel's life, we would learn to you and find purpose. May the teachings of our ancestors live on in our minds, and their passion for righteousness stir in our hearts. Help us to live so that our daily conduct reveals the beauty and wisdom of your truth. Baruch atah Adonai, habocher ba'amo Yisrael ba'ahava. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך. ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאו על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We read together. Love Adonai your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or you are rested, let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Adonai spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelites and tell them that each generation shall form a fringe on the corner of their cloths and place a blue cord on the corner fringe. When this fringe catches your eye, you will remember all of the mitzvot of the Eternal and do them, and not follow after your heart and your eyes, which draw you astray. That you may remember and do all of my mitzvot and be consecrated to your God. I am Adonai, who bore you up from the land of Egypt, to be your God. I am Adonai, your God. Sing the song of men and women, join in understanding and respect. The song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come. The song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more. The song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha ne'edar ba'kodesh, nora tehilo o sefer shir החדשה שבכל גאולים לשמך סוף היום יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ובטחנו מלך יהודה וישראל גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. We continue with the tefillah on page 205. Please rise. Adonai tzifatav tifta ufi agi techilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei avotenu b'imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Hasadim Tovim V'konei Hakol V'zoher Hastei Avot V'imahot Umevi Gula Livnei B'neihem L'man Shmo Be'ahava Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Abraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. Source of all being, we turn to you as did our people in ancient days. They beheld you in the heavens. They felt you in their hearts. They sought you in their lives. Their quest is ours. Help us to see the wonder of being. Give us the courage to search for truth. Teach us the path to a better life. So shall we, by our lives and by our labors, bring nearer the world we envision, one of justice, freedom, and peace. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mehaye hakol, ata rav le'oshia, mechokel hayim bechesed, mehaye hakol berachamim rabim. So'omer noflim verofei cholim umatir asurim umechaye emunato lishenei afar michamo chaba gevuro umidom melach melech mimi umechaye umatmiach Yeshua v'ne'emanata lechachayot hakol Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam Keshem shmakdishim oto b'shmei marom kakatuv ayat neviecha V'kara zel ze ve'amar Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh Adonai Tzebaot Melocho haaretz Kevodo Adir, Adirenu Adonai Adonenu Madir Shimcha B'chol haaretz Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo Echad hu Eloheinu Hu Avinu Hu Malchenu Hu Moshienu ve'hu Yashmienu, Rachamav le'nei kol chai. Ani Adonai Eloheim, Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elochai Etzion, Ledor Vador, Hallelujah.
Ledor vador.
Ledor Vador,
Ledor vador.
Ledor Vador, Ledor Vador, Nagigad Lecha.
Ledor vador.
Ledor Vador,
Ledor vador.
Ledor Vador, Ledor Vador, Nagigad Lecha. Ulach Nitzach Nitzachim, Kedushat Nakdish, Kedushat Nakdish. V'shivchacha Eloheinu mi'ipinu lo yamosh, le'olam le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el ha'kadosh. To all generations we will make known your greatness, and to all eternity proclaim your holiness. Your praise, O God, shall never depart from our lips. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Please be seated. I'd now like to invite the following people to join me on the bima: Steffi Katz, Jean Linkmeyer, Erin Katz, and Aviad Benskri.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
The meaning of Shabbat is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat, we try to become attuned to the holiness in time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world.
On this Shabbat day, as you graciously receive our prayers, help us to hear your call. Grant us enough health to fulfill our duties and the compassion we need to attend to others. Teach us humility that we may perceive our own faults, and grant us the wisdom to be forgiving of others. Give us the courage to be true to our highest selves, and the charity to see the best in those around us. Give us patience enough not to become discouraged, hope enough to overcome all fears for the future, and faith enough to know your presence. O source of blessing, look with favor upon us. May our offerings be acceptable to you. We praise you, Adonai, whom alone we serve in reverence. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod.
O God, may we never become complacent, faltering in our effort to build a world of peace. Let the nations know and understand that justice and right are better than dominion and conquest. May all come to see that it is not by might nor by power, but by your Spirit that life prevails.
I need strength, humility, courage, and patience. Strength to control my passions, humility to assess my own worth, courage to rise above defeats, patience to cleanse myself of imperfections. and wisdom to learn and live by our sacred teachings. Let me not be discouraged by my failings. Let me take heart from all that is good and noble in my character. Keep me from falling victim to cynicism. Teach me sincerity and enthusiasm. Endow me with perception and courage, that I may serve others with compassion and love.
We take time now for our own silent prayers and meditations.
Shalom bimromav, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom. Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Our service continues with the celebration of the reading of Torah. At this time, we invite Carol Bass and Rachel Bass to be our ark openers. We ask everyone to please rise. Jason, we are gathered around you, your family, and your community to tell a story. 13 years ago, your parents began to author the story that is you. But they had co-authors for that story. Because not only did they try to write for you what they hoped would be your fate and your destiny, the path and the life that you would follow, but you had a very important say in what that story would be. But in addition to the way in which you have authored your own story that has led you to this time and this place, there was another author that helped you along the way, and that was the Holy One. Because today we're not here just to tell the story of you. We're here to tell the story of the world. And that story was authored by the Holy One and our people over generations of generations, and that is indeed what is the Torah itself. It is the story of the conversation between God and our people, the story of who we might choose to be and become with God's guidance and God's wisdom, the holiness of text and tradition to guide us along our way. Jason, the story of our people is one that has been authored in so many different ways. The scroll into which we will place in your arms is a scroll that you and your family helped to author. As you sat on this bima and held in your hands that feather quill to write one of the letters in this scroll. But more than just the ink and the parchment, we think about the history and the spirit of all the laws and the words and the letters and stories that are embedded in this scroll, and how they are the story of you, and the story that you will tell to generations that will come after you. For the story that we place in your arms is not simply your story, Jason. It is the story of your great-grandparents. It is the story of your grandparents, the story of your parents. And God willing, Jason, one day you will grow to become a father, God willing, a grandfather, and maybe even a great-grandfather. And you will have the opportunity to pass on this story, this text and tradition, and to help those generations that will come after you to author the story of their lives as you become part of Shalshelet Kabbalah, the chain of Jewish tradition. And today, Jason, we are so proud of that strong link that you create in that long, long chain. So we take this story, the story of our conversation with God and our people, and we pass it through the arms of your great-grandmother, to your grandparents, to your parents. And now we give it to you, and we ask you to make it your own.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adoneinu, Kadosh Shemo, Lecha Adonai HaGedula, HaGevura VeHaTiferet, HaNetzach VeHaHod, Ki Chol HaShamayim U'Haaretz, Ki Chol HaShamayim U'Haaretz, Lecha Adonai
Please be seated.
The Torah portion for this Shabbat is called Parashat Bo, and it is from the book of Exodus, chapter 10, verse 1, through chapter 13, verse 16. My Torah portion describes what happens during the final 3 plagues in Egypt. These plagues include locusts, darkness, and killing of the firstborn. The plagues started to get much more serious because they're affecting Egypt long-term and short-term. The locusts destroyed the food and crops that weren't destroyed by the hail. They were everywhere, and when the Egyptians walked, they heard an annoying crunching sound. This ruined most of their food supply. Next came darkness. It was so dark, no one could even see their hand in front of their face. If anyone got out of bed, they would have walked into a wall. Last was killing of the firstborn. God decided that he had enough of Pharaoh's denial, and he chose to make sure that Pharaoh let the Jews go. This plague was particularly bad to Pharaoh because this actually affected him. To make sure the Jews were protected, God told them to make a Pesach, or Passover, offering. They were told to sacrifice a lamb, then paint its blood on the lintel and doorpost of their home. They were instructed not to go out until morning. At midnight, the angel of death came through Egypt and slayed the firstborn boy of every Egyptian, from Pharaoh's son to even the cattle. Pharaoh then released the Jews. Now this is just what the Torah portion says. It has a deeper meaning than just God killed the Egyptian firstborn so the Jews could go free. One such lesson I found not to pertain just to me, but to people in general, is that we must listen to warning signs before we suffer the consequences. Everyone can think of a time when they didn't listen to warning signs and it turned out badly for them. Think of a time this may have happened to you. Now think what might have happened if you had listened to the warning signs. It probably would have turned out better if you had listened. Think about what happened in Egypt. At first, the plagues were just annoying and inconvenient. The blood killed the fish and made it smell bad. The frogs were just flat out annoying, and the lice were itchy. Then they got a little bit more serious. The cattle, which produced milk and meat, died. The wild beasts destroyed everything. The boils were painful, and the hail destroyed many crops. Then came the most serious plagues, which I described to you today. At the beginning of my Torah portion, Pharaoh's courtiers say, "Are you not yet aware that Egypt is lost?" Pharaoh's closest associates even realized that Pharaoh had failed, but Pharaoh refused to listen. He wouldn't give up until his own son was killed. This is a very important lesson in today's world, because there are many warning signs and many people who don't listen to them. One example of warning signs is World War II. The U.S. hadn't gone to war while some of our closest allies had, but we suffered because of this. Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. Only then did we join the war. In this case, the U.S. was stubborn and unwilling to listen. Some people say that many more died because the U.S. waited so long to join the Allies. A personal example is when I took a final and I didn't do well. The test in my classes had been harder that year, but I didn't study enough to do well. If you take anything away from the speech, please just look out for warning signs. So if there's a pool of water near your refrigerator at home, don't ignore it, get it checked out. Thank you, and Shabbat Shalom. If you would like to follow along, the Torah portion may be found on page 412 of the Torah commentary.
For the honor of the first Aliyah, we'd like to invite Ruth and Malcolm Shaker to the bima. Yamdu, Rachel bat Rose v'David, Moshe ben Jack v'Frida.
לכל זקני ישראל, ויאמר עליהם, משכו ולכו לכם צאן למשפחותיכם, ושחטו הפסח, ולקחתם עלודה אזוב, וטבלתם בדם אשר בסף, והגעתם אל המשקוף ואל שתי המזוזות מן הדם אשר בסף, ואתם לא תצאו איש מפתח ביתו עד בוקר. ועבר אדוני לנקוף את מצרים, וראה את הדם על המשקוף ועל שתי המזוזות, ופסח אדוני על הפתח, ולא ייתן המשחית לבוא אל בתיכם לנגוף.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Give a hug and a kiss.
For the honor of the second Aliyah, we'd like to invite Evan and Jamie Katz to the bima.
יעמוד עזר ובין בית קופל, בין קופל ואילן.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Baruch Adonai Borach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'acham b'onu b'kol ha'amin, v'notan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ושמרתם את הדבר הזה לכוחך ובניך עד עולם. והיה כי תבואו אל הארץ אשר ייתן אדוני לכם כאשר דיבר, ושמרתם את העבודה הזאת. והיה כי אמרו עליהם בניהם, מה העבודה הזאת לכם?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
For the honor of the third Aliyah, we'd like to call Bonnie and Mel Arbisfeld to the bima.
יעמדו ברבת מרים וג'רי, מאיה בן דוד.
Baruch Adonai Borach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'acham b'onu b'kol ha'amin, v'notan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ואמרתם זבח פסח הוא לאדוני אשר פסח על בתי בני ישראל במצרים, ונגפו את מצרים ואת בתינו הציל, ויקוד העם ויסחבו וילכו ויעשו בני ישראל כאשר ציווה אדוני את משה ואהרון כן עשו. ויהי בחצי הלילה ואדוני היכה כל בכור בארץ מצרים מבכור פרעה היושב על כיסאו עד בכור השביעי אשר בבית הבור וכל בכור בהמה.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'chutenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yamdu Shoshana bar Moshe v'Rachel Yitzchak Yaakov ben Ezer v'Beru.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ויקום פרעה לילה הוא וכל עבדיו וכל מצרים ותהי צעקה גדולה במצרים כי אין בית אשר אין שם מת. ויקרא למשה ולאהרון לילה ויאמר קומו צאו מתוך עמי גם אתם גם בני ישראל הלכו עבדו את אדוני כדברכם גם צאנכם גם קרכם קלחו כאשר דיברתם ולכו וברכתם גם אותי.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yamod Kopel Yishai ben Yitzchak Yaakov v'Shoshana bar Mitzvah.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamborach.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamborach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
ותחזק מצרים למאחר לשכם מן הארץ כי אמרו כולנו מתים. ויישם את בצקו טרם יחמץ משרתם צורות בשמלותם על שכמם. ובני ישראל עשו דבר משה וישאלו ממצרים כלי כסף וכלי זהב ושמלות. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Mazel tov. For the honor of Galilot to dress the Torah, we invite up Carol and Rachel Bass. Ask everyone to please rise.
The Haftarah is the lesson from the prophets, which is read directly after the Torah portion. It is read because in 168 BCE, King Antiochus of Syria and Palestine banned the reading of the Torah and made its reading punishable by death. So, the scribes found passages in the books of prophets that related to the weekly Torah portion. When the Maccabees restored the temple, the decision was made to continue reading these passages to conclude the reading of the Torah. There is always a connection between the Haftarah and Torah portions. My Haftarah portion is from the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah was a prophet from a small town called Anatot, who was very lonely and considered himself a failure. He lived in the 7th century BCE. During this time, Israel was destroyed, and Judah was between two major powers, Egypt and Babylonia. Eventually, Babylonia took over Egypt, then attacked Judah and Jerusalem. Jeremiah taught us that we should remain faithful to God even in times of crisis. In my Torah portion, Pharaoh doesn't listen to the warning signs from Moses that Egypt will soon be destroyed. In my Haftarah portion, the king of Judah doesn't listen to Jeremiah, who tells him to surrender to Babylonia. This all comes back to warning signs. Both my Torah and Haftarah show us we need to listen to God's warning signs. For my Bar Mitzvah project, I created a collection drive for an operation called Operation Gratitude. This is an organization that sends care packages to active troops and veterans. These care packages can be very special and important to these troops and veterans. They give candy or stuffed toys to local children in exchange for information, which can actually help them locate bombs and ambushes. I chose to do this project because veterans mean a lot to me. Several of my family members are veterans, and I would like to show my respect for their service. They chose to serve their country at their own risk. The effect of my doing this project is huge. This organization helps thousands of people each year and has sent out over 1 million care packages. Thank you for helping me support Operation Gratitude. If you would like to follow along, the Haftarah may be found on page 427 of the Torah commentary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nbiim tovim ratza b'divrehem hane'emarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai halocher bat Torah, Moshe Avdo, Israel Amo, Vinvieh Hamet, Vatzedek. Hadafar Asher Yiber Adonai, El Yirmiyahu Hanavi, Lavo, Nebuchad Retzar Melech Bavel, Lechachor Eretz Mitzrayim, Yagidu v'Mitzrayim, V'hashmiyu v'Migdol, V'hashmiyu v'Nov, Uvtach Panhes, Imru, Yitzotze B'chachena, Ki achla hereb hayona, Maduach nisha avirecha lo amad, Ki Adonai hadafo, Yuba kushtel, Lam nafal, Yisharehu, Ve'amru kuma v'nashuva el amenu, Vel eretz moladetenu, Mipnei herev hayona. Karu sham, Paro melech Mitzrayim shon, Herevir hamoed. I ani num chamele, Adonai tzivot shemo, Ki ketavor beharim, Uchkarmel bayam yavo. Klei gola sila, Yoshevet bat Mitzrayim, Kinop neshama tihyeh, V'nitzach men Yoshev. Egla yefefia Mitzrayim, Keret mitafon ba'ava. Gam sichireha v'hirba, Ke'eglei marbek, Ki gam hema yifnu, Nasu yachdav lomadu, Yom edam, Ba'elet alehem et bikudata. Kola kanacha shilei, Ki v'chayelechu, Ukarumot ba'ula, Kehod ve'etzim. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Tzur kol ha'olamim, Tzadik b'chol hadorot, Ha'el ha'ne'eman, Homer ve'oseh, Hamdaber umkayeh, Shekol devarav emet v'tzedek, Al ha'torah, V'al ha'avodah, V'al hanbi'im, V'al yom ha'shabbat hazeh, Shenatata lanu, Adonai Eloheinu, Likdusha v'limenucha, Lechavod ultifaret, Al hakol, Adonai Eloheinu, Anachnu modim lach, Umvarchim otach, Yitbarach shimach, B'fi kol chai, Tamid le'olam va'ed, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Jason, for the past several weeks, I have been thinking about what to say to you today. How to express how blessed I feel to be your mom. How to describe the unbelievable joy you bring me every day. As I listen to other parents speak about their children on their bar and bat mitzvahs, I wondered how they were able to describe their children's character, accomplishments, and determination so eloquently. I thought to myself, and perhaps whined a bit to Dad, writing this speech is going to be really difficult. And then it dawned on me, I had to write one speech, while you have spent years preparing for your bar mitzvah. Over the last several months, you have dedicated countless hours to studying Torah, writing your speech, and working on your mitzvah project. Instead of being overwhelmed, you have embraced the job of becoming a bar mitzvah. In fact, you chose to add to your already full plate and learn an additional 3 verses of Torah so that each pair of your grandparents could be honored with their own aliyah. As part of becoming a bar mitzvah, you are required to do a mitzvah project. Through Family Promise, the Wayne Barton Center, and the Giving Tree, you have volunteered with me and Dad countless times. You have served Easter dinner to underprivileged families, shopped and wrapped Christmas presents for their children whose families could not afford to purchase them, and played with, read to, and served dinner to children and families who are homeless. And the list goes on. When it came time to choose your mitzvah project, you could have easily selected one of the organizations Dad and I introduced you to. However, totally on your own, without input from anyone else, you chose something closer to your heart. 2 of your grandfathers and your great-grandfather are all veterans. But it wasn't until you wrote your bar mitzvah speech that you actually shared your feelings of appreciation and the great respect you have for those who've served our country. You have taken your mitzvah project very seriously and are excited to send off all the donated items to Operation Gratitude later this week. In fact, you sacrificed one of the love of your lives for Operation Gratitude. In addition to various other items like socks, gift cards, and plush toys, you also collected 48 pounds of Halloween candy. For a few weeks in October, several boxes of candy sat on our dining room table. Much to my surprise, you stayed totally clear of this precious candy. Dad and I, on the other hand, did not. When you caught us red-handed, you lectured us about how we were taking from veterans and forced us to confess exactly how many pieces of candy we had taken. And then you did the unthinkable. You replaced the candy that we had eaten with some from your own Halloween stash. A true mitzvah. Last year, when you began middle school, believe it or not, I was a tad nervous. You would no longer be protected and nurtured by your elementary school family just a few blocks from our house. You are about to be thrown into the world where parents don't chaperone field trips, 6 different teachers all expect you to be on time for class, and where you knew only a handful of the other 1,400 students. But you embraced the job of being a responsible, well-prepared, independent middle schooler, determined to be in the most challenging math class and choosing to become involved in leadership activities through student government, where you're expected to be a role model for other students. Not only did you quickly put my mind at ease, but you have truly flourished in middle school. As you travel through life, you will face many difficult choices and will unfortunately encounter others who will encourage you to do the wrong thing. However, if you continue to listen to your own voice and follow that enormous heart of yours, I have no doubt you will do the right thing. You have never been concerned with following the crowd. Therefore, I know you will always take the high road, even when those around you are making bad decisions. Your inner strength and strong self-confidence will steer you in the right direction. Jason, if you follow the path that you have already begun to create for yourself, you will do great things in your life. And by great, I don't mean fame and fortune. You will continue to engage in fulfilling and satisfying endeavors that challenge that very inquisitive mind of yours. You will continue to be kind and to forgive others when they make mistakes. You will continue to touch those around you, making them feel good and special in your presence. You will continue to put your family above all else and to help your friends, especially in math, and to make them smile and laugh. And most of all, you will continue to make me and Dad and the rest of your family so proud of all that you do, and most importantly, of who you are. I love you so much.
So JJ, until about 10 days ago, I was planning on doing this speech to you off the top of my brain. So I want to start by thanking those of you in this congregation, everyone who I mentioned that to, saying that probably was not a good idea. Jason, what an incredible day. You never cease to amaze me with your ability to take on new challenges with confidence and poise. I decided for my speech today, I want to talk to you about your past, your present, and your future as they relate to today. Let's start with your past. When I think about your past as we stand here today, I think about the family that you were born into. I think about your great-grandparents who laid the cornerstones of life for your grandparents, who in turn laid the cornerstones for Mom and I, who in turn have laid the cornerstones for you. You have been incredibly blessed to have known 3 of your great-grandparents. You are especially blessed to be celebrating with 4 generations of your family today, including your great-grandmother and all 6 of your grandparents. I was not lucky enough to know Mom's grandparents, but I know in my heart that you carry a piece of them with you today. When I look at my life, I think about what it is that makes Judaism so important to me. Who are the people that came before me who made sure our rich heritage was part of my life? For me, it's an easy answer. Your great-grandparents, Carl and Elaine. You didn't know Grandma Elaine very well because she passed away when you were young. She had such love for you and for Judaism. I can literally see her sitting here in this congregation today with a smile enveloping her whole face and saying to me with a tear in her eye, "Oy, that boy of yours, he is something special." And when I look at my life and I think about who it was that taught me the most about what it means to give of yourself and to put family first above all, I think about Grandpa. You were blessed to have Grandpa in your life for 12 years before he passed. Grandpa gave you his most prized possession, his air medal, not just because you were his great-grandson. He did so because of the person you are and how proud of you he was. The reason I tell you this today, Jason, is because it's important that you know when you accomplish great things in your life, when you take on new challenges like you have here today, you do so not only for yourself. When you strive for greatness in your life, you bring pride to your family, and more importantly, you give meaning to those whose lives came before you. On to the present. When I think about the present today, I'm not thinking about this week or this month or this general time in your life. I'm thinking about right now, right this second, as we stand here on this bima. I want to make sure you take a moment to appreciate how special today is. With all the excitement of leading a service and having a party in your honor, I think it's easy to let a day like this go by without taking a deep breath and really feeling how awesome it is. There are few times in any person's life when so many people come together to celebrate in their honor. When you are born, people come to celebrate your bris and your naming. When you're married, loved ones come to celebrate your bond with the person you choose to spend your life with. And when you become a bar mitzvah, your loved ones come to celebrate the beginning of your transition from a child to an adult. Take a look out into the sanctuary. You have friends here today who you have only known these last few years. You have friends here who you have known since before you could walk or talk. You have your entire family who came from near and far to celebrate with you. You literally have loved ones, family and friends who came from every corner of our country to celebrate you. You also have a bunch of people that are watching us on the live cast, so you can give them a little wave. They couldn't make it. So I want you to take a deep breath and just think about what an unbelievable moment this is. Try and hold on to that feeling for as long as you can. Use this feeling when you're having a bad day sometime in the future, and remember the love that surrounds you every day of your life. And be grateful. Be grateful because not everybody has this kind of love and support in their lives. There are truly no greater blessings in life than this moment right now. On to the future. When I think about all the things I hope and dream for you in your future, I could go on for hours. Rabbi Dan told me not to go on for hours. So I want to share 2 things I hope for your future. The first that comes to mind is that you remember what you accomplished today. I want you to remember that when you set your mind to something, you can achieve anything you want. You were blessed to be born with a great head on your shoulders, but it was not intelligence that got you here today. What got you here today? What made you able to stand up in front of 100 people and with confidence lead a service, mostly which was in Hebrew? You accomplished your goals with hard work, determination, and a passion to succeed. You had a goal, you had a date you needed to accomplish that goal by, you had great teachers, you had love and support of family and friends, but the fact is, you did this. You have never been one to lack confidence, but I hope today builds on that confidence. There simply is nothing that can get in your way, if you put your mind and your heart into it. Last but definitely not least, I hope the experience of being called to Torah inspires you to live a Jewish life. Over these past 6 years, you have seen what joining Temple Bethel has done for us as individuals and as a family. As a child, Mom and Dad made the decision for you that you would receive a Jewish education. At some point in the future, that choice will no longer be ours. So my hope and dream for you is that the journey you have taken to become a bar mitzvah inspires you to lead a Jewish life when the decision becomes yours. I hope you will remember the richness that being an active part of a Jewish community has brought to our lives. I hope you remember the feeling of taking a deep breath and looking out at your family and friends today. I hope when you are older you will choose to become a lifelong Jewish learner, to be an active part of a Jewish community, and that mitzvot continue to be a central part of your life. JJ, I love you with every ounce of my being. I cannot imagine a person with more pride and love than I have right now.
Thank you, Rabbi Katz. Thank you, Rabbi Katz. Thank you, Rabbi Katz. Jason, you did such a fantastic job leading us today. You did it with tremendous poise and with great ability, and we're so proud of you. In fact, I would say that not only do I speak, I think, for me, but I think for all of the rabbis and the cantors and the leaders of this congregation when we say thank God for the Katzes. Thank God for what you and your family have brought to our congregation and to our community. In your Torah portion today, Jason, you read about a man who is getting progressively more and more dead, and that's Pharaoh. Pharaoh starts off vibrant and alive and willing to sort of tussle with Moses and with Aaron, but as each of the plagues come, he gets hardened more and more and more. That hard heart makes it impossible for him to see what's going on around him. It makes it impossible for him to appreciate what's happening in his life. It makes it impossible for him to see that there are other alternatives than the path that he has chosen for himself. He has grown hardened, and he can't imagine any other life than what he sees before his eyes. And I think about that because, Jason, you belong to a family of mush. Your parents are so the opposite of what it means to be hard-hearted. And I remember when I got to know your parents over the years, they talked about how growing up and in the earlier part of their lives, Judaism really had almost no meaning to them. They were lucky that they found each other, but they didn't find each other because they were Jewish. They found each other because they found each other. And thank goodness that they did. But the Jewish aspects of their lives were not primary or important to them. And you know what? The fact is that your mom and dad are like a whole lot of people. Many, many people for whom Judaism doesn't mean a whole lot. Where living a religious life is not important. What's important is building a career, getting a nice big house, fancy car, cool clothes, and all that stuff. And yet your parents decided not to be hard-hearted. They decided to be open-hearted. And so they decided to wander into this synagogue, and after they wandered into the synagogue, they wandered into Intro to Judaism, and then they wandered into the Bar Mitzvah class, and then they wandered into the confirmation class, and they wandered into leadership, and they wandered onto the board. Because of that open heart, they were willing to see what they had never seen before. They were willing to see how incredibly powerful leading a Jewish life could be. They saw, because of their open, soft hearts, how amazing and powerful it is to engage in social action and to work to help other people, whether it's through the Giving Tree or the Easter dinner or through Family Promise, like they talked about. They saw that when they opened their hearts up to the incredible power of the Torah that you taught us from today, that your life is filled with life, something that Pharaoh couldn't see. And Jason, what has been so fantastic to watch was not simply the way in which your parents embraced their Judaism, but is to watch how you have grown to embrace yours, similarly to them and differently from them. Jason, you are an incredibly unique and special, talented, extraordinary young man. And it was so much fun for me to learn this Torah portion and to see how you saw Torah through your eyes, to see what manifested itself in your heart, to see what resonated to you in your spirit. Because, Jason, the world can't be what it needs to be without you. We need your voice. We need your passion. We need your insight and your intuition to guide us in how we can open our hearts, to guide us in making sure that we mark the warning signs and act on them, whether it's a little puddle by a particular refrigerator or whether it's a plague that seems to be getting out of hand. Jason, we are blessed because you are sweet and you are kind and you are smart and you are sensitive. And you have the capacity, as you did today, to be an important leader, not simply for your family and your friends, but through your congregation, for your people, for your community, for our world. And Jason, we cannot wait to see what it is that you will grow to become, and how it is that you will allow Torah to take hold of you as you have taken hold of it today. We are so proud of you and your accomplishments today. Mazel tov. And now, as we prepare to return the Torah to the Ark, we'd like to invite up for our Ark honors Stephanie Katz, Aaron Katz, Aviad Ben Zakri, and Jean Linkmeyer, and all of your grandparents to please join us on the bima. We ask everyone to please rise. Take your book.
Shebeirach Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, veYaakov. May the one who blessed our fathers always shine his light on you. You'll excel in all you do. May you always know happiness and blessings. This is what
May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine upon you and be good to you. May the light of God's presence that shines upon you and from inside of you be a light to guide you on your way towards a life that's filled with every measure of blessing and goodness and love and peace. And we say, Amen. Please remain standing as we turn to page 282 for the Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol la'teit gedula leotzer reishi shelo asanu kiyoye haratzot velo samanu kimishbechot hadama shelo sam chelkeinu kachem v'glor aleinu kechol hamonam ve'anachnu korim umishtachim umodim lifnei melech malchei hanmachim chakadosh barichu.
Page 287. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding, loved each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. Page 291. Yesh kochavim she'aram magia arza rak ka'asher hem atzmam avdu ve'enam. There are stars up above so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we've loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. As we gather here on this day of celebration, we think about those who shared this day with us in spirit, and especially on this occasion, we remember Gerald Wolpen, Carl Katz, Elaine Katz, Jack Shaker, Freda Shaker, David Godlin, and Rose Godlin. And if anyone else is observing a yahrzeit or has the name of a loved one they wish to recall, as we go around, please say any additional names aloud. We give thanks to God for the gift of life and love with the words of Kaddish on page 294. We ask everyone to please rise. We say together, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'oma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'ameh amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata ta'amiran be'olma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav u'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens grant peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn. And we say amen. Please be seated. Hi, Jason. We have gifts for you. And to present gifts from our congregation's sisterhood and brotherhood, we have Karen Hoffman and Steve Kaufman.
Jason, wow. You have made this entire room so proud. Wasn't it just yesterday that I was at Sugar Sand Park holding my 10-month-old, waiting in the lobby to go into a sing-along story time? And in the middle of that crowd was a mom holding a baby about Rena's age. It's a good thing your mom is never at a loss for words or shy at all to strike up a conversation with me. And our families haven't stopped talking since. In fact, we've shared so many experiences together, like family get-togethers, where even we've included our dogs, Casey and Spike. But our connection to Temple Bethel is something that has truly cemented our families together. Of course, I get to see your dad at board meetings, your mom at committee meetings, but it's the celebrations of holidays, the many Shabbat services and meals, and every other program Temple Bethel has under the sun that our families enjoy together. You and Raina are so connected in all things Temple Bethel, which now includes even leadership in Junior Bafti. We're so proud. Thank goodness we stole you guys away from that synagogue in Boynton Beach, because you have and your family have enriched our Jewish life so much. The entire Hoffman gang is so proud of you. Mazel tov, Jason. You are welcome. On behalf of the sisterhood, here's a Kiddush cup. Sorry.
Jason, congratulations. You did a fantastic job. While I know you're thinking, I'm finished, and it is true you're finished with your bar mitzvah, I hope that you're not finished with your Jewish education and with your time here at Temple Bethel. And here's why. As you move through middle school and into high school, you're going to learn very important things in the Palm Beach County Public School system, things that you will use in your everyday life, like AP Human Geography, AP Environmental Studies, trigonometry. These are really useful things that I know Robin and Rabbi Dan and I use every day here at the temple. But what they won't teach you in the Palm Beach County Public School system is how to be a good person, how to be compassionate for those in our community less fortunate, how to make good moral choices. These are the things that you'll learn at Temple Bethel as you continue your education here. So I hope that you will not look at this as the end of a journey, but just a step along the way to leading a fulfilling Jewish life. So on behalf of the Brotherhood of Temple Bethel, I want to present you with this tzedakah box. I hope that you will put money in it from time to time, and then you will bring it to the temple and empty it out into the big wooden tzedakah box that we keep here in the lobby. But since I'm the guy who has to count that money on most Shabbats, I just ask one favor, no pennies, please. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Mazel tov. I am so proud of you. So Jason, it is always my honor when a family asks me to participate in a bar bat mitzvah, because it gives me an opportunity to say things that I'm always thinking, but I don't always get a chance to say. So today, I want to talk to you about gifts, and not the gifts that Steve and Karen just gave you, or not the gifts that I'm going to give you in a minute, and not the gifts that you're going to collect as part of this bar mitzvah, but the gift that you gave to all of us today. because as our leader and our teacher, you gave us the gift of seeing who you are deep inside. Not only that you were able to so capably lead our service, but you led it from your heart. And that's a gift that we all benefit from today. Rabbi Levin talked about the gift of the Katz family. Rarely do we see a family who comes to Temple Bethel and says, we need to take classes so that we can stay ahead of our child in their Jewish education. But that's what your parents did. And they jumped in with both feet and their hearts and their hands. And we have benefited from the gift of their family. And you've benefited from the gift that they have been such wonderful role models, not just to you, but to many of your friends out there and to your friends' parents who have said, this is the way that you become part of a community. And this is how you sort of stand up and be counted. And that's a lesson that I hope that you take into your heart and that you remember, no matter where you end up, that it's not enough to just be. You have to not only be, but you have to do. And you have all the potential in the world to be that leader and that teacher from this day forth and forever. And I know that we're going to see great things from you. So, mazel tov. And now I have presents for you. Gifts. So, the first gift is the famous Temple Bethel t-shirt. I did it. Man, wear it with pride. The next gift I have is a gift certificate for $250 to take a trip to Israel with the North American Federation of Temple Youth. And there's like a row of people right there that you could all go together because you're all celebrating bar bat mitzvahs in the next few months. And lastly, this is your certificate of bar mitzvah that says that today really happened. And every time you look at it, I hope you feel the pride and the love that's surrounding you right now.
Now we'd like to invite your family over so that together we can celebrate Kiddush and Motzi.
We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
All right, give it a rip. My goodness. Will everyone please rise? Come here. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, we pray for your blessings on Jason and his family on this glorious day. Grant him a life in which his heart is soft enough to appreciate all of the blessings, the goodness, and the gift of Torah and wisdom that the Holy One has given us. Adonai Azlimitim, Adonai Yevarech et Emo v'Shalom. May God grant strength to the people of Israel. May God grant all peoples enduring peace. Shabbat Shalom. Mazel Tov! Guess what? You don't have to practice tomorrow.